Everyone thought they knew why Pauley Perrette stopped acting. The story everyone heard was easy to understand. She wanted a calmer life. But some secret papers tell a different story. There were people saying someone hurt her, unsafe things happening, and a person she worked with that scared her so much she needed help from a doctor to feel better. CBS thought paying her money would make it all go away. They were wrong. Now, at 56 years old, Pauley is finally ready to tell everyone what really happened in those last few years when she was filming. Pauley Perrette was born on March 27, 1969 in New Orleans, but her childhood was nothing like staying in one place. Her dad had a job working with trains, which meant the family had to move from one state to another all the time. By the time she became a teenager, she had already lived in 14 different places. She never stayed anywhere long enough to feel like it was really her home, but moving around so much taught her how to get used to new things quickly, how to fit in, and how to figure out what people were like really fast. Even though she was born in Louisiana, she always said Alabama felt like her real home. Growing up in so many places in the South, she became really good at changing to fit new situations, something that would later help her make it through the crazy world of Hollywood. Even before anyone knew her as Abby, Pauley wanted to catch bad guys. As a kid, she didn't just read princess stories or watch cartoons. She liked reading real stories about criminals and the science people used to catch them. While most kids were dreaming about becoming astronauts or sports players, she talked about joining a music band, working with animals, or becoming an FBI agent. And she really meant it. After high school, she studied about crime and the law and got degrees in learning about people, how minds work, and crime science. She didn't stop there. She moved to New York and started working on getting an even bigger degree at John Jay College of Criminal Justice. What made her want to do this wasn't wanting to be famous or successful. She just wanted to understand why some people hurt others and don't feel bad about it. That question stayed in her mind for years. While she was studying and trying to make enough money to live, something happened that changed her forever. During her time in Atlanta in the 1980s, someone attacked and robbed her really badly. We don't know all the details, but it hurt her deeply. It wasn't just a scary moment. It became something that changed her whole life. Instead of trying to forget about what happened, she used it to make herself stronger. It gave her an even bigger reason to keep studying crime and helping other people. From that moment on, she started speaking up for people who had been hurt. She used her voice and the attention she was getting to help people who had been hurt, always remembering what it felt like to be one of them. Her college years were anything but normal. Holly worked really hard in school, but she worked even harder outside of school just to have enough money to live. In Georgia, she studied about crime and law, and kept her grades really good. When she moved to New York, things got much harder. She made drinks at underground clubs while having a mohawk haircut and wearing big boots, fitting in perfectly with the city's weird nightlife. She also handed out papers while wearing roller skates and even cooked food on dinner boats that went around the water to pay for school. It wasn't fancy, but she said later that all of it made her tougher. She wasn't just reading about how people act in school books. She was seeing it happen every day in real life. That mix of school learning and real-world experience became the perfect training for acting, even though she hadn't planned it that way. She got her first tattoo when she was just 15 years old. In the very strict Southern world she grew up in, that was really shocking. She had been raised in a very serious church where movies and TV shows were almost never allowed. As a child, she looked like the perfect Southern girl. Blonde hair in pigtails, polite and well-behaved. But inside, she felt different. The tattoos became a way to show the world she wasn't going to follow the rules others had made for her. Over the years, she got around 20 tattoos, each one showing a part of who she really was. She turned her body into art that went against everything she was taught to be when she was growing up. When she finally made it to Hollywood in the 1990s, she only had $71 in her pocket. She had just come from New York, where she'd been making drinks in clubs and doing anything she could to stay alive. In Los Angeles, things didn't get any easier. She slept on friends' floors and took whatever jobs she could find. She even did voice work for a phone service where people could call to hear songs, just to pay rent. Acting wasn't a dream she'd been chasing her whole life. It was something she found while trying to survive, and she only kept doing it because her original plan of working in crime science couldn't pay her enough money to live. During one of her hardest times, she walked dogs along Sunset Boulevard for just $5 a day. It didn't seem like much, but it led to something special. One of those dogs, a pit bull she saved from the street, became her beloved dog named Cece. That dog wasn't just a pet, it was part of her story. Years later, when she had a big fight with someone she worked with about his mean dog, her connection to Cece made that fight even more important to her. Her love for animals started on those dog walks and became something she cared about for the rest of her life. She has helped countless animal rescue groups since then. Her first big break on TV came not from trying out for parts or having agents help her, but by hearing someone talk in a coffee shop. She was sitting nearby when she heard about auditions for The Drew Carey Show. That single moment led to her getting a part as an extra character named Darcy, which she played in 4 episodes over 2 years. From there, she slowly started building up her resume. She got parts on shows like Frasier and Murder One, and each one brought her a little closer to her big break. That conversation she overheard was the moment everything started to change. In the year 2000, she had a small part in the movie Almost Famous, playing a radio DJ named Alice Wisdom. It wasn't a huge role, but it gave her the chance to work with actors like Philip Seymour Hoffman and director Cameron Crowe. A few years earlier, she had been the main character in a small drama movie called The Price of Kissing. These roles weren't huge hit movies, but they helped her get better as an actress. Even though Almost Famous didn't make much money when it first came out, it became a movie that lots of people loved later. Her being in those movies showed she was good at acting and could do different types of roles long before NCIS made her famous. In 2003, Pauley Perrette walked into the audition room dressed in loose jeans, sneakers, and a plain white t-shirt. She had natural blonde hair, nothing like the goth character she would soon be known for. But the moment she walked in, Don Belisario reportedly said, "That's her." Her friend Kevin Lawson later said that Perrette didn't even need to try hard. Her excited energy from drinking caffeine, talking fast, being warm and friendly, and love for giving hugs were enough. Abby wasn't a character she pretended to be. It was a part of who she really was. Her excited energy from caffeine, talking fast, being warm and friendly, and love for giving hugs weren't written in a script. It was just Pauley being herself. And that moment changed everything. Abby didn't just join the team, she became the team's heart. Although there's no official CBS information comparing how popular she was to other characters, fans made it really clear. Viewers loved Abby. She became a fan favorite, and her part quickly grew bigger than anyone expected. The writers noticed how much people liked her and kept giving her more time on screen. By the time she left in 2018, she had been in every single episode since the show started. No one else in the cast had been on the show that long. On set, one small stuffed toy caused more trouble than any actor ever could. It was Bert the farting hippo, a purple stuffed animal that made fart sounds when you squeezed it. What started as just something in the background turned into something everyone on set talked about. Cast and crew members fought over who got to keep it. The people in charge eventually had to lock it away to stop people from taking it home. Bert showed up in episode after episode, making people laugh during the saddest scenes. It wasn't toys they sold that made Abby special. It was weird little things like this that people could never forget. Behind the scenes, Perrette took Abby's job as a science detective seriously. When the 3rd episode, Sea Dog, was shown in October 2003, it was clear Abby knew what she was talking about. But that wasn't an accident. Perrette worked with real science experts and learned the science herself. She studied DNA testing, gun science, and lab rules, all to make the role feel real. She didn't just remember her lines. She understood what they meant. That made Abby more than a TV character. She felt like someone who could walk into a real NCIS lab and actually do the work. Pauley Perrette's heart wasn't just in acting. She put herself into causes that really mattered to her. One of those was helping soldiers who had come back from war. She worked with American Humane's Pups for Patriots program, which gives trained dogs to soldiers who have PTSD and brain injuries from getting hurt in war. These dogs can cost up to $30,000 each to train. But Perrette believed in what they were doing and did what she could to help. The program has given more than 160 soldiers, trained dogs, giving them not just help, but respect. It was just like how Abby on the show always respected people who served in the military. The show became super popular during the season 7 finale. That one episode had over 20 million people watching in the United States. It was a huge moment. For NCIS, the crime show even got more viewers than American Idol that year. The show got 25% more viewers in the 18 to 49 age group from the season before. It jumped from 14.9 million to 17.6 million total viewers from one year to the next. This wasn't just another season ending. It was the moment NCIS became the #1 scripted drama show in America, and stayed there. One of the weirdest but best marketing wins came from Abby's favorite drink, Calf Pow. It started out as just an idea for the show. Originally, it was supposed to be caffeine pills, but the people making the show didn't want Abby taking pills on screen, so they turned it into a bright red energy drink. And that red cup became something everyone recognized. 7-Eleven jumped on the idea and ran a promotion that led to a 14% increase in energy drink sales across the whole country. They even made holiday-themed Calf Pow cups. What most fans didn't know was that Pauley Perrette never actually drank it. Her cups were filled with cranberry juice. Perrette never asked for someone else to do the scary parts for her, even in scenes that made her feel really uncomfortable. She was really afraid of small, tight spaces, but still filmed inside tiny morgue sets without help. One episode, Bête Noire, required her to face those fears in a major hostage scene. She didn't back down. She kept going. Even when the set made her feel like she couldn't breathe, the show called it necrophobia. But for her, it wasn't about dead bodies. It was about feeling like the walls were closing in on her. And yet she stayed in character for 15 years. She never let fear make her acting worse. In secret, Perrette also made a webcomic during her time on NCIS. She used the name P and published a series called Lab Babble, all about Abby's lab adventures. At first, no one knew it was her. The comic had Abby's humor, her science knowledge, and even had Bert the Hippo in it. Eventually, fans figured out it was really her. But the most surprising part wasn't the comic. It was where the money went. Every single penny she made from ads was given to animal shelters across the country. It was a quiet way of helping that no one asked her to do, but she did it anyway. In 2011, Guinness World Records gave Perrette a title that no one had ever won before. She was named the most popular TV crime drama actress. This wasn't based on how many people watched alone. It came from something called the Q score, which measured how much viewers liked her as a person. Not just the character, but her. She beat out actresses from shows like CSI and Law and Order. At that time, NCIS was getting more than 18 million viewers for each episode. But what made her special wasn't just the goth look or science talk. It was how she made people care about her. In October 2016, everything changed on the NCIS set. Mark Harmon brought his rescue pit bull Dave, just like he had for years without any problems. But that day, something went really wrong. The dog bit a crew member so badly that the person needed 15 stitches. The attack was serious enough to stop filming for 2 hours. It wasn't just a quick scare. The bite left deep cuts and made the person feel really upset and scared. Harmon's lawyer later said he had warned him about the dangers of bringing the dog back. Still, Dave came back to set. What had once been a safe, controlled place to work now had everyone feeling scared and worried. That incident didn't just go away quietly. It started a chain reaction that would tear the show's foundation apart. Right after the dog attack, Pauley Perrette demanded CBS never allow Dave near the set again. She was really shaken up, but when the network let the dog come back, she was really angry. She responded by having a strict rule added to her season 15 contract. From that point on, she would never be in the same scene as Harmon again. For fans, it seemed like a mystery. On screen, they never appeared together. Behind the scenes, filming had to be planned around them being kept apart. Her scenes were filmed on different days with separate crews. It cost more money to make the show, and the whole system became much harder to manage. In her final episode, watched by 15 million people, they didn't even film in the same building. The people who put the episode together had to carefully make it look like they were together when they really weren't. Then, in June 2019, Pauley made everything public. At 6 in the morning, she posted a tweet that immediately shocked everyone on the internet. She said she was terrified of Harmon and that she had bad dreams about him attacking her. She made it clear she would never come back to NCIS. Her words didn't come from a newspaper interview or someone else telling the story. They were direct, honest, and raw. The internet went crazy. Entertainment websites crashed because so many fans were trying to understand what she was saying. The idea of Harmon as a calm TV father figure was suddenly broken. He didn't say anything back. That silence for many people only made her words seem more true. What people hadn't known before was that Pauley had already filed 3 separate safety complaints with HR. These weren't just rumors about fights or money talks. CBS later said she had raised concerns over a year before she left the show. In 2018, she tweeted that she had been physically attacked multiple times. Her posts suggested she was forced to stay quiet and blamed a powerful system for spreading lies about why she left. She said she felt unsafe going to work and needed therapy afterward. The fact that she filed 3 different reports shows she tried to go through the right channels. It also suggests that CBS had multiple chances to do something stronger but didn't. For Pauley, the workplace became something she had to run away from, not just quit. The most serious moment came when reports revealed she had hired a private investigator. She wasn't just complaining, she was gathering proof. The investigator wrote down safety violations on the NCIS set, and Pauley used that evidence to force CBS into a private settlement. According to multiple sources, CBS paid her somewhere between $5 and $9 million. This wasn't about a bad script or getting paid less. It was about safety and making people responsible for what they did. The settlement came with a strict agreement that she could never talk about what happened, meant to hide everything. Around the same time, CBS was already in trouble for other bad behavior cases. They had just paid $9.5 million to Eliza Dushku because of harassment on a different show. The money Pauley got suggests that her case was serious enough to risk major damage to CBS's reputation and Mark Harmon's career if the details ever came out. 2 years later, Pauley tried to make a comeback with a new sitcom called Broke. It started strong. On April 2, 2020, over 7 million people watched, but the success didn't last. The ratings fell quickly. By the end of the 13-episode season, only 3.6 million people were still watching. In the important group of 18 to 49-year-olds, the show had dropped to a 0.4 rating. That number is way below what TV networks need to keep a show going. Critics weren't nice either, calling the show boring and without direction. CBS had hoped to bring her TV career back, but it ended quietly, after being one of the biggest stars. On primetime television, Pauley's return failed because not enough people watched, and people didn't like it. Just 2 months after Broke was canceled, Pauley sent out one last message. On July 7, 2020, she tweeted, "I'm free in bright rainbow colors." It wasn't just a happy update. It was her official retirement from acting. She said she now only answers to God, animals, and plants. Her rescue dogs, she added, were her only judges. It was clear she had no plan of ever coming back to the industry. Her acting career had lasted over 25 years with more than 350 NCIS episodes alone. But now she was done forever. There were no interviews, no plans, and no goodbye tour, just a single bold message that closed the door completely. What surprised many people was what came after. Even after retiring, she was still being offered work. Big shows like The Good Doctor and Law and Order. SVU wanted her to appear as guest characters. These kinds of parts usually pay between $100,000 and $300,000. For someone with her experience, and how well-known she was, they were easy wins. But she said no. It wasn't about money anymore. It was about peace. Even though she had once supported SVU and what they stood for, she refused to step back into that world. Turning down offers like these showed she was serious. She wasn't trying to be famous. She was protecting her own happiness and health. On the morning of September 2, 2021, Pauley Perrette opened her eyes and immediately knew something was wrong. The entire right side of her body felt completely numb. She tried ignoring it, thinking maybe she had just slept in a weird position, but the feeling didn't come back. Her finger touching her own cheek felt like it belonged to someone else. Even the weight of her laptop sitting on her legs meant nothing to her skin. That's when she started to panic. She called her doctor, who told her not to wait. Within minutes, she was in an emergency room surrounded by medical staff confirming what she feared most. At just 53, she was having a massive stroke. For 36 hours, her voice disappeared. She couldn't speak at all. When her speech finally came back, her first words weren't dramatic. They were light, even a little sarcastic. "Dude, seriously." But the truth was, her doctor hadn't expected her to survive past 5 p.m. that day. The stroke had been that dangerous. Getting better was long and tiring, with months of therapy for speech and moving her body. But she made it through, hurt, but alive. What helped her survive wasn't just the doctors. It was Rosie. Rosie wasn't a nurse or a family member. She was Perrette's rescue dog. As the stroke was happening, Rosie wouldn't stop pawing at her, waking her up just in time. That small action made the difference between living and dying. Every minute is important during a stroke, and Rosie gave her those important minutes. Perrette had always cared deeply about rescuing animals. Over the years, she adopted several dogs, and often shared how much they meant to her. But this was different. The dog she had saved ended up saving her back. That moment made her realize that their connection went way beyond just being companions. It was about surviving. From then on, her love for animal rescue only grew stronger, built on being grateful, and something almost spiritual. That sense of spirituality got stronger after the stroke. Perrette began looking for peace in quiet places far away from Hollywood. She started visiting a Benedictine monastery in Big Sur twice a year. There she learned to slow down, to breathe, to listen. The monks didn't try to change her religion. Instead, they taught her how to sit in silence, how to pray in a way that felt real to her. She came up with a simple prayer that she says every day. "Thank you for everything, and forgive me for everything." In those moments of being still, she says she hears guidance, not loud or dramatic, but clear. Words like "trust" or "not now" come like whispers. This wasn't the faith she had known growing up. Back then, she wasn't even sure how to pray. But now her conversations with God feel like checking in with a friend. These retreats helped her work through more than just the stroke. They helped her deal with years of trauma, including past abuse and a brutal attack in 2015 that left her shaken and terrified. Even while facing personal pain, Perrette kept finding ways to give to others. She became an executive producer for a documentary called Studio One Forever, a project that meant a lot to her. The film explores the history of Studio One, the first gay disco in America, which operated in West Hollywood from 1974 to 1994. It wasn't just a nightclub. It was a place where the LGBTQ community found freedom, joy, and each other, especially during the scary early days of the AIDS crisis. The film features stories from celebrities who were there like Bruce Vilanch and Chita Rivera. But Perrette's reason for doing it was simple. She wanted those voices to be heard. She wanted people to know that Studio One wasn't just a dance floor. It was a safe place during a dangerous time. The project premiered at the 2023 Outfest LA Film Festival and became a celebration of history, strength, and community. But some of her most meaningful work never made the headlines. In 2015, she quietly helped a young cancer patient named Cristina Flores. Cristina was a huge fan of NCIS and dreamed of meeting Abby Sciuto. Thanks to the Make-A-Wish Foundation, that dream came true. They met, spent time together, and even got matching temporary tattoos. Weeks later, Cristina passed away. No one knew at the time, but Pauley had paid for the entire funeral and travel expenses for Cristina's family. It wasn't for publicity. It was private. The only reason it became public was a tweet from Cristina's aunt, which was later deleted. Perrette never commented. She didn't need to. She had already done what mattered, honored a little girl whose strength touched her heart. Hollywood kept calling, but Pauley kept choosing her values. In 2007, Playboy magazine offered her $750,000 to pose. She said no. In 2013, they came back. With nearly $1 million, she turned them down again. At that time, NCIS was one of the biggest shows on TV with over 19 million people watching every week. Playboy thought she'd say yes, but she didn't want to be part of anything that turned women into objects. She knew young fans were watching, and she wanted to send a different message. In a 2014 interview with TV Guide, she said the offers didn't tempt her, not even a little. She believed in showing strength in a different way, and she stuck to that belief even when it cost her money. But maybe the biggest surprise came in 2023 when Pauley's will was leaked during a court filing in Los Angeles. The total value of everything she owned was over $22 million, not a single dollar was left to family or friends. Instead, every cent was going to no-kill animal shelters and the Innocence Project. Her lawyer confirmed it, saying she wanted to avoid any family drama over money. She had already spent years supporting these causes. In 1 year alone, she rescued 12 dogs. Her will was split carefully, 60% to shelters, 40% to help free people who were wrongfully convicted. She even made one final request. Her ashes would be divided. Half would be scattered near a dog park. The other half would go to the rescue center where she found her first dog.